Former President Obama, in a rare interview since leaving office, sat down for a radio broadcast with Britain's Prince Harry, opening up about the day he left the White House and issuing a warning about the use of social media by people in leadership roles. But he did not directly mention his successor. Take a listen.
The question, I think, really has to do with how do we harness this technology in a way that allows a multiplicity of voices, allows a diversity of views, but doesn't lead to a balkanization of our society, but rather continues to promote ways of finding common ground.
Very diplomatic. Let's bring in our panel. Leslie Marshall is a syndicated radio host and Fox News contributor. Lawrence Jones is a radio host for Blaze TV and a conservative commentator. Thank you both. So the Prince's program basically focuses on issues such as the armed forces, mental health, youth crime, climate change. Somehow, though, social media comes up, and President Obama obviously made a direct, clear criticism of President Trump because, as you know, he loves Twitter. Let me ask you first, Leslie, was that a direct jab at the president? And if so, why not just name him if he's going to criticize him?
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't think it was a direct jab. I think it was, if we want to look at leaders, the leader of North Korea likes to tweet. We have leaders throughout the world. Barack Obama, when he was president, had and still has a very different style than Donald Trump and a lot of these leaders. And I think what he said, quite frankly, was right on. It wasn't a jab. It was his opinion. I don't think it really has strayed from what his opinion was months ago.
Go ahead, Lawrence.
I mean, he talked about harnessing social media. You can't harness social media. This is a place of free thought. Whether you agree with or disagree with what the president says, he has been able to get directly to the American people. I think, Julia, a lot of these people that are former politicians or current politicians have a real problem with what Donald Trump is doing because they are so fake. A lot of them do a lot of things behind closed doors. I've been around a lot of them, and then they pretend to be so astute on social media in front of the public, but that's really not the real them. And so Donald Trump, love him or hate him, he's kind of real.
Well, you know, he does, and President Obama also mentions the fact that people on Twitter and people in real life, in person, are two different people, and that if you actually talk to President Obama, or President Trump, rather, in person, you might get a different feel for those who are against his social media practices. But Obama also says, regarding the irresponsible use of social media, he says that it distorts people's understanding of complex issues and spreading misinformation. And I want to play a portion of that segment. Go ahead and play it.
All of us in leadership have to find ways in which we can recreate a common space on the internet. Mm-hmm. One of the dangers of the internet is that people can have entirely different realities. They can be just cocooned in information that reinforces their current biases. It's also, by the way, harder to be as obnoxious and cruel in person as people can be anonymously on the internet.
So, Leslie, you think he's talking about Kim Jong-un there? I mean, come on. And first of all, he does talk about, you know, how Twitter can reinforce biases. But isn't that why President Trump uses Twitter? He has said this himself, that he uses Twitter to get around the media bias that follows him.
Wow, this is really loaded. And when we look at the internet, and I think again we're reading way too much into what President Barack Obama said. But I do agree with them. Look, there's a reason that ISIS uses the internet, and very quickly to.
So you think he's talking about ISIS?
Everyone uses
he's talking about leaders. He's talking about world leaders. He's not talking about ISIS.
No, I don't think he's. I don't agree that he's just talking about world leaders. I think he's talking about how there are dangers on the internet, that there is a lot of misinformation out there. It can be used to divide, but it can also be used to unite. There's no question, although our president, regardless of the reason he wants to use Twitter and social media, a lot of his tweets have been very divisive. I mean, he's attacked not only members of the media, he's not only attacked members of Hollywood, he's also attacked just private citizens when he doesn't agree with them. It's very bombastic.
Leslie, there's misinformation everywhere. There's misinformation everywhere. It is up to the American voters, the American people, to do their own research.
Shouldn't the leader of the free world be a calm in the storm and lead by example rather than jump on that bandwagon?
Of course, that's why he's going directly to the American people, because there's been so much misinformation by the press. There's been such a biased press. And so when you have a biased press, when you're a world leader, you got to go directly to the American voter. And that's what Donald Trump is doing.
I think that the personal attacks could be left out. I think that many would agree that maybe it's not very presidential to be attacking cable news hosts and celebrities and the like. But that is Donald Trump. I mean, if you've ever met the guy, he says what he thinks and he tweets what he wants to tell people.
And at least he's honest.
Their face.
At least he's honest
and
don't use people without saying their name, like President Obama just did, being so patronizing. If you're going to target somebody, just go directly to them. Say their name. Don't act like, oh, this is
that was
Kim
sort of the point of
or somebody else.
Yeah, that was where I was going with that. I mean, if you're going to criticize somebody, just come out and say it. You know, if I have a problem with Rick, I tell him, and I enjoy it, actually.
Right, problem with me.
No, but I'm just saying if I had one. All right, Lawrence and Leslie, thank you both. Appreciate it.
Happy New Year.